Good day, everybody. So today we are going to bring this series to an end, algebra, finding the subject of the formula. Through the previous videos, we would have looked at how to find the subject of the formula applying various algebraic techniques. We look at the whole concept of transposition. We look at getting rid of division and multiplication. We also look at getting rid of square root and a root. And also we looked at, well, last but not least, we would have also looked at things like cross multiplication. So today we're going to just wrap it up with some practice questions. So this is practice time. And to do so, I just designed two questions. I try to come up with questions that will, as much as possible, apply all the rules that we previously looked at. If you did not go through the previous videos, or if you're just looking for practice right here, you can just do this. If you need any help in terms of how to go about solving this, you can look at the thumbnail right up top there at the eye, and you would see the previous topics, the previous videos that we would have looked at leading up to this grand finale here in algebra, the subject of the formula. So here we have three questions. Notice that the third question is a past paper CXC question. This was given in the year 2000. That's question D. Question D, I think, I can't remember. I didn't take the exact label. So we're going to just go through these three questions and call it George for today, or whatever name you want to call it. Moving on. So question one, of course, you can pause the video, attempt it, and then after look at see if we get the same answer or if we have the same answer. So here for question one, we're trying to make Q the subject of the formula. They gave us the square root of P over T plus 2Q is equal to 4 plus Q for Q. Notice here again, and I will always keep emphasizing, whenever we want to make something the subject, we just have to make sure that that subject has three characteristics. It has to stand alone, it has to be in the numerator, and it must be positive. I think I repeated that in each and every single video throughout this series. So here to make Q stand alone, we have to do several things. First of all, we have to notice that we have two Qs. We have a Q here and we have a Q here. So firstly, we have to make it 1. We have to make sure that they come together as 1. And then we do the rest, or we leave the rest to basic arithmetic. Good. So the first thing I would do here, I will move this Q onto this side here. If I do that, I will make this Q come together with this Q here. Or you could do the other way around. You could make this Q go to the other side, but I think it's easier if we make this Q come to this side here. When I do that now, I will do two-step in one. I will send the 4. No, watch. Let me do one thing at a time. So let's send over the Q first. So when I send over the Q, that would leave over here with the square root of P over T. So my handwriting. That will be equal to 4 plus Q, right? Minus 2Q. Minus 2Q. And again, notice it will be minus because over here it is positive. So if it's positive here, when you send it over, it will be negative. So that would leave us with minus 2Q here. Now I will get rid of my 4. So I will send the 4 on the other side here. And now that would leave me with P over T minus 4. Notice it will be minus because over here it is positive. And that is equal to Q minus 2Q. We almost finished there. So now we have two Q's here, so we can equate them. Yeah, there's one of two ways in which we could equate them. If we already know how to do factorization, we could simply factor out the Q. So that would leave the Q outside, and that would leave us here with a 1 minus 2 minus 2. But we don't go that way. We ain't going that way because that will just complicate our life a little, and then we have a bracket and an operation, blah, 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 blah. So the easiest way to do this is, again, we have to re-envision that there is a 1 in front of here. So this is simply 1Q minus 2Q. And if we solve that algebraically, we will end up with, again, what's on the other side is on the side. We're not interfering with that. P over T minus 4 is equal to, what I will have over here is negative Q. That's what I would end up on the other side. So Q q minus 2q will actually be negative q. It's like you're taking away one line from two lines, which we know is impossible, literally, but mathematically you'll end up with that negative expression. And to wrap up this expression here, notice the subject has to be positive. Right now it is alone and it's in the numerator, but it has to be positive. So we know that there is then a positive, there is a negative 1 in front here. To get rid of that negative 1, all we need to do now is divide by negative 1. And because we did that on this side, we do the same thing on the other side. So we divide by negative 1. So we know that this negative 1 here will cancel this negative 1. And that would leave us, I'm just switching around my answers. I like my answers on the left-hand side. That would leave us with q equal to, and I'll leave it just so I will not change anything. I could simplify it further, but I would leave it just like that. P over t minus 4, the minus 4 is not under the square root, all over negative 1. Yes, that's some working we had to do there, but we just kept applying the various rules that we did throughout the previous videos. Again, just feel free, go back and look at the previous topics. That will give us the answer for question number 1. So here we have q equal to the square root of p over t minus 4 all over minus 1. Notice here now that q, our subject, is positive, standing alone, and in the numerator. Let's go to number 2. So here we have a is equal to pi r squared for r. If we are acquainted with our formulas, we will know that this formula here is the area of a circle, the formula to calculate the area of a circle. So here they want us to find out what is r, or in other words, what's the radius. You could look at it that way. And we're just making r basically the subject of the formula. So again, we have to appreciate that there is a multiplication sign between this pi here and the r squared. So firstly, I divide by pi. So I will divide here by pi to get rid of the pi. And remember, as we discussed in the previous video, whatever you do on one side of an equation, to ensure that we keep balance, we do the same thing on the other side of the equation. So pi here will cancel pi. And that would leave us now with a, which represents area, over pi is equal to r squared. And how do we get rid of a square? We find the square root. So here we find the square root, and because we found the square root on this side, we do the square root on the other side too. Again, the laws of equation. Whatever we do on one side, we do to the other side. And I will just switch around my answers here again, because as I said earlier, I prefer my answer to be on the left-hand side of the equal sign. It doesn't have to be, but that's how I personally prefer it. There's no rule that says it has to. As a matter of fact, let's leave it like this so that you would see that it's just a matter of preference. So here will leave us now, remember that this square root cancels this square, and that leaves us with the square root of a over pi is equal to r. And that's my answer there. As I said, normally I prefer to put the r on the other side and this on the other side. I prefer the r over here and this here over here. But let's leave it like that, just to appreciate that there are many ways in which you could show this. And that gives us the answer. And as again, we emphasize, our r is now positive, standing alone, and in the numerator. So that is our subject. Our answer here is r is equal to the square root of a over pi. And last question, this is a CXC question, and I tried to look for several CXC questions, but I don't lie to tell you, I'm being honest here, the questions were very easy, so I opted to just make 2 similarly complicated ones or higher level ones. This I think was very straightforward also. This came in 2017. Once you understand the rules, I think again it's very easy to maneuver this. So V is equal to pi r squared over h, not over h. That's the volume formula for a cylinder. Oh, well, it's there. The formula to calculate the volume of a cylinder is this. And they want us to find r again. So they want us to find r. And this process is very similar to the one we just did. So how do we go about this? Firstly, I will divide. And I'll do a two-way division because it's 2 things we have to get rid of. The pi has been multiplied by the r squared, as we did just now there, but also the h, which is supposed to represent the height. So then I could divide, sorry, by pi h. And because I divide that by pi h, one side, I do the same thing on the other side. So this would leave me, and I reshuffling my answer one time, this would leave me with r squared is equal to v. I just put in my answer on the other side. V over pi h. And so my hand is shaky here. So r squared is equal to v over pi h. And again, don't get confused. Whatever was here, I just put it on this side, and this here, I put it on the other side, right? So then we have r squared is equal to v over pi h. And from here, I think we know what we're going to do. To get rid of a square, we find the square root. And whatever I do on one side of the equation, I also do it onto the other side. So that will leave my r alone. And on the other side, whatever mess you have over there, that's what you got, as long as you did it on the honest means. You don't have to worry about solving it any further. You have what you want. That will be v over pi h. And this is our answer. For CXC, this actually worth 2 marks. So by simply showing that, you would have gotten 2 marks for this. I didn't write on the mark, but I know I saw it and I know that's what it is. So 2 marks to apply this. That is how straightforward finding the subject of the formula would be. So this pretty much will wrap up our video for today. Again, make sure to like, share, and subscribe. This will bring us to the end of our algebra. Our next topic, our next line of topics will focus on consumer arithmetics. So be prepared for that. You enjoy the rest of your day, the rest of your week. Stay good.